Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, December the 18th. It is 7 days until Christmas. So if you are celebrating Christmas, Merry Christmas to you. If you are celebrating Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah to you. If you're celebrating Kwanzaa, Happy Kwanzaa. If you're celebrating none of the above, Happy December. We are still filming in front of the fireplace. I was just looking around saying, like, I just can't do another juggling of the location, so we're gonna do it here. It is freezingly cold where I am. Freezingly cold. I was looking at the weather app before I sat down to record, and it is currently minus 22 degrees Celsius, which is about minus 10 Fahrenheit. It is going to be an absolutely frosty week. The high, so Tuesday is supposed to be the coldest day of the week. The high on Tuesday is supposed to be minus 26 degrees Celsius, which means colder overnight. Minus 26 is about minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit, so freezingly cold. It is a great time to stay home, and it's interesting. I'll be catching in with other friends and seeing how many workplaces, you know, with everything that happened with COVID and people working from home, I think it's given a lot of organizations have rolled out the ability to be flexible about whether people are in the office or not. That's not necessarily for everybody, but for a lot of organizations. So certainly as I look at this week, I'm going, man, this would be a good several days to work from home. Anyway, it will warm up towards the end of the week, so for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day it will be much warmer. I think the high on, well, either Christmas Day or Christmas Eve is supposed to be minus 4 degrees Celsius, so a 20 degree Celsius swing, which is notable. So it will feel practically balmy by the time we get to Christmas Day. So yeah, right now freezingly. And yes, I'm sitting in front of the fireplace and I'm having that moment going, it'd be nice if the fireplace was on, but sitting this close to the fireplace for as long as I think this video is going to take to record would be too warm. So I am sitting here with my crib blanket on, but I am going, yeah, I can feel the chilly. Anyway, we'll get this recorded and get it uploading and whatever. It's coming I'm recording a little later than I was planning just because the props for today are a little more extensive than, you know, whatever. All right. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the comments from last week, and I'm going to go through a couple of things that I don't think I did a very good job last week on clarifying. So just because I know some of you were desperate to see it again, although I've just realized I don't really have anything to hold it against. Let's do this. Okay, so thank you for all the lovely comments about the finish of French Country Crown and the quote. I think it's lovely. If you are interested in getting this quote in this same font, or I don't know if Sarah's got other fonts, but if you're interested in getting it, you too can get it from Sarah. Just message her on Etsy and she can get back to you, because certainly this quote is, if you're looking for it in this font, it's ready to go. If you're looking for it in a different font or a different arrangement of it, I'm sure she'd be able to do that for you as well. So you can just message her on Etsy. Her store on Etsy is Stitchin' Mommy, and I will put a link to the Etsy shop in the comments in the note section down below. When you get into her shop on Etsy, just hit the contact seller and put in your question, and then you'll hear back from her pretty promptly. Okay, there's that one. Okay. So last week I showed my Remember November, And the question came up about who designed this and where could they get it from, which in my head I knew the answer to that. And I will say I'm doing much better about checking on some of these things before we actually get into the video, because my initial answer was incorrect. So the name of the pattern is Remember November. It is by Marnic, M-A-R-N-I-C Designs, which is a Canadian designer. This is available through her website. She used to be on Etsy. She is no longer on Etsy. She has her own website, marnicdesignscanada.com. I will put a link to the shop and a separate link that will take you directly to where you can purchase this. As far as I know, this is only available as a PDF pattern from her. But I was looking, somewhere else had it listed that it was unavailable and out of print and all that kind of stuff. But as far as I can tell, you can get it as a PDF file directly from her website. It's listed on there. They've got a shopping cart on the website. I haven't checked out from them, but that's where you can get it from. Yeah, I think it's lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Although my city of Calgary charm, I kept looking at it going, it seems to keep falling over, so I need to do something a little bit to maybe get that on there a little more firmly so it doesn't swing around before I take it in for framing. But yeah, so Marnic Designs. And in case you were interested, before you even head to the website, my Flosstube number 83 was talking about Marnic Designs, and it showed some of the designs that I have in my stash. But of course, now that she has a website, you can go there and look at what she's got. She is coming up with, she is still designing. She's an active designer. She just recently came up with some designs in November. Like there's one that's about coffee. I think it says, let them go, and if they return and bring you coffee, you know, then it's meant to be, or I don't know, stuff like that. I'm not really a coffee person, so anyway. Marnic Designs Canada, it will be in the notes section down below if you're looking for that chart. On the French Country Crown, I forgot to write down who had the comment, but they were looking on the JBW Designs website to see if it was available for purchase, and it is not available on her website for purchase. Some of her charts are. That one is not. But I did look on 123stitch.com, and it was available through them. If you are wanting to support a local brick and mortar shop, or you know, another store of your choice, I did look. It is available if they're ordering through Hoffman, which is a fairly major distributor for cross-stitch supplies. It was listed, the French Country Crown by JBW Designs was listed on their website as available for a shop to order through them. And my understanding is that when they're ordering from Hoffman, it's not like they have to order a bunch of them. They do have the ability to order like one copy of a chart. So 123stitch.com or another shop of your choice, if they're ordering through Hoffman, is how you will be able to get the French Country Crown chart, which will get you the crown and To the Queen. The Elizabeth II and the dates down here are using the alphabet that's available for free on the JBW Designs website. And of course, the quote, as just discussed, is from Stitchin' Mommy on Etsy. It's not a listed chart on Etsy. Like I say, just message her and you can get that from her. Nuts. I forgot to write. I think this is Christiane. She was wondering, if it's not Christiane, sorry about that. Someone had sort of said, you know, would I recommend getting a DMC color card? And my answer is yes. Yes, I would. Couple of things about it. Now, I pulled the one that happened. I have several. color cards. Like I say, I sort of with what's happened over the last number of years, I've had a number of them come into my household. So I tend to have one I have one where the stitching stash is. I have one out in the sunroom. I have one in this room. So this is this is the older one. This doesn't have the new colors. Doesn't matter for generally for my purposes. This is going to be sufficient. My recommendation to you is so there are two ways that you can get a DMC color card. You can get just a printed color card, or you can get one that has the floss. The current ones are white. Like I say, this has got yellow, so this is, I look at this and go, this isn't going to have like the 01 to 35 or the Coloris or that kind of stuff. But like I say, it's still got lots. I would recommend getting the one that has the actual thread in it. I think it just gives you better, gives you a better sense of the color than the printed version. I have seen the printed version. My recommendation is to get the ones that have the actual floss. These aren't necessarily, these are not cheap. This is not like a $15 buy this thing. I think the last time I saw a color card, like, I of course am in Canada, so like I think the last time I saw a listing for it, it was like $50 or $55 Canadian. You should be able to get them through the DMC itself. I will put a link to the DMC US website. Yeah, like I use it a lot. My hat is slipping yet again, but I'm glad I'm wearing it because it is another layer of warmth. I use mine regularly. I look at colors, like if you're trying to figure out, let's pick on blues, there's a bunch of blues. If you've got, if you're trying to figure out things even that go with like over-dyed flosses. Now this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because with an over-dyed you've got sort of several shades of color in one floss. But there are conversion charts online that you can find that say if you're converting from Gentle Arts to DMC, or Weeks to DMC, or Classic Colorworks to DMC. Are they 100% accurate? No. And with hand-dyed cottons, welcome to your batch, 27 things can impact how it looks. So it's not that you're going to necessarily get 100% match, but it will give you a starting point. I use mine a lot, which is why I'm glad I have several, because then I can have them at all the different spots. So yes, I do recommend it, but I acknowledge that they are expensive. So save up for it, or ask for it as a gift. It's always that subtle. It's like for people who, most of the men that I know always go like shopping for their wives or mothers or sisters or girlfriends is challenging, and I go, I don't understand the problem. We're so easy to shop for. I remember I was working for one guy. He's the CFO, and he was sort of going like, I need to do something for my wife, and like she's impossible. It's so hard. And I was like, what are you talking about? This is like easy. This is easy. He's like how would you know? And I said, look, I've never even met his wife. I never had met his wife, and I sort of went, if you want to do something really wonderful for your wife, this is what it's going to look like, and this is how you're going to accomplish it, and this is what you're going to do. And I got to the end, and he was like, fine, that's actually, she would think that was awesome. Like going, yes, I don't understand the complications. We're so easy. Anyway, it's quite funny. I don't know that he ever followed through on it, but I was like, I've never even met your wife, and I can tell you something that would be wonderful and she would love. Anyway, all right, Linda from Leeds, she best loved the comment. She's really funny. Barnaby, spurned by Lady Scarlet, is now languishing in a darkened room. Paula Vaughan and Teresa Wentzler, former starlets, are unable to console him. great. Honestly, it was funny because I will give you, I've been thinking about Barnaby still, and I went and looked it up again, and I went like, I like the concept, but for some reason I go, I don't like it. And I think the answer is it's because Barnaby is a bee and there's a lot of bee things in it. I think the design is too yellow. I think that's what it is. It's too yellow. And of course, because he's a bee, it's not like you can change all of the things. But yeah, I think the issue is it's too yellow for me. Anyway, but yes, sorry, I didn't mean to spurn Barnaby. Hopefully Paula Vaughn and Teresa Wentzler will be able to provide some consolation for him. Okay. With that, let's get into stitching. So, and thank you to those of you who voted on unanimously. Certainly all the comments that came in were like they thought that the frame that I had chosen for that I picked up at the thrift store for Marnik, that oval one, was going to look lovely. So thank you for that. And for the few of you who chimed in on your thoughts about the DMC versus the Classic Colorworks versions, generally everybody voted DMC, and I think that's where I'm going to as well. Sorry, I've scratched my hand. Anyway, we'll deal with that after the fact. Okay. Thank you to those of you who said you were hoping that I had a better stitching week. I didn't have a better stitching week. It's that time of year. There are things going on, things to do, things to get organized, things to get ready for. I've laughed. People who are sort of going like, man, I'm not even close to finishing my shopping. Leading up to Christmas can be very stressful. I'm not stressed out, which is great. My shopping is complete. I'm not doing this to brag. I'm actually going like, whew, my shopping is complete. My wrapping is close to being finished, but not quite. So I'm actually feeling well in hand. I've got some baking to do this week, which is relatively simple. I make cookies for I make a batch of my dad's favorite cookies as part of his Christmas present. He's very funny because on Christmas Day, he makes sure he answers the door when I'm coming over. And he generally opens the door and just takes the container of the cookies for him. Like, I don't even label them. They're just in a Tupperware container, and he takes the container of cookies and disappears. They need to be refrigerated. He disappears down into the basement. They've got a second fridge down in the basement. So he just takes them straight off. Like, they never really make it out of the entryway. He takes them straight down to the basement. And I'm left there in the doorway with the packages. Anyway, he appreciates them. He absolutely appreciates them. I always laugh because he returns the container because he wants another batch. So depending on when the container gets returned, he may get another batch for his birthday or for Father's Day, depending on how fast he makes his way through them. And I do cookies for my brother, and sort of through all of that, I then come up with a container of some cookies to take over to my next door neighbors, and she's got 2 kids. So my former neighbor had 3 boys, and they were my snow boys. So they since the first one hit high school, they've looked after my driveway, which has been wonderful. They've moved. A couple of years ago, they moved away, and I told her, like, I couldn't believe she was abandoning me. But her youngest son, so they're still in the area, but her youngest son is still actually my snow boy. But I do acknowledge that there's probably going to come a day where he's no longer going to want to shovel my driveway. He's in his 20s, so he's still shoveling my driveway, which awesome. So I'm working on, the way I got the kids next door is that I was the sugar dealer. So I would take baking over and things like this and all that kind of stuff. They had a very lovely mother, and she was very responsible. It's not like they didn't get treats, but you know, when she baked, she made like oatmeal raisin. So like the big chocolate fest and sweets came from me. So I figured that's how I got them. So I'm working, there's the 2 boys, the new 2 boys who are sub 10. So I go, I've got a couple of years to suck my way into those. so that by the time my current one decides that he's too old to be my snow boy, that hopefully they will have aged up enough where it might be interesting for them to become my snow boys. So anyway, that's more than you ever wanted to know about that. So what did I stitch this week? All right, so last Sunday, of course, was the 11th, which means the 11th of every month is when I work on my Just Nan piece, Remember 911. I am only working on this one day a month. I say there's a little hitch there because that's not exactly what I did this year. So where did I get to? So I did not too bad. So I did this band, which took forever. I have no idea why I was so slow on that. Believe it or not, in that band there is 4 different colors. When I finally got that one done, I came down here and like this one went like lickety split. By then it was late. I was aiming to have this one done as well. So the next day, sorry, there's fluff on there. I brought it out again on the 12th just to do this one band here. Now, this chart is out of print now. Now, part of it has to do with, I think when she originally did it, the variegated silk that's used in this band, it's called Old Glory. I don't know that it's necessarily available anymore, which is, I think, why sort of it's gone out of print. It's hard to tell here, but it's a red, white, and blue. Now, the red is, like, I would go, like, if you're thinking, like, the flag of the U.S., that this is more the red that they use. This red is quite dark. It's sort of heading towards burgundy territory. It works for me. I'm okay with it. And in my head, that particular band occurs multiple times, right? You can see all the times. It's the exact same stitch. It's a plate stitch. And they make this comment about, you know, making sure that you start in different places so that you know, have different colors occurring at different things. And as I was stitching it, I was in my head, there's 5 bands, so I was going to start with blue and then red and then white and then red and then blue. But then as I was stitching up, it's like, does it make more sense to, like, I'm wondering if I just sort of, you know, because really this is one length of floss, period. So I was just wondering if I just alternated them, like, so I started with the blue here, the next one, if I start with the white, then do blue, white, and blue, so that there's never, like, to start with a red, I'd really have to start in the middle of the floss. So I'm just, what do you, any thoughts on that? Throw thoughts, comments in the comment section down below. One of you had commented that you have done this as well, so it'd be interesting to see what you chose to do. Because as you can tell, like my length of this, like there is red in there. Certainly this chunk of red is a much smaller component than the one over here. So yes, throw thoughts, opinions down into the notes section down below. So I worked on that for Sunday and a little bit on Monday, which then of course brought me to things to get done. So yes, we're going to do this the funny way. This is the December Cottage of the Month by Country Cottage Needleworks, which, as you can tell from the screenshot for this video, I successfully completed. So there it is in all of its glory. I did this on a 32 count Icelandic Blue linen by Witchelt. I am using all of the called for flosses. I think it's lovely. Yes, it killed me. So look at all of those little, you know, snowflakes. So 4 stitches of white. And for me, given the distance between them, it was a start and stop every single time. You know, these little yellow stitches, one at the center of the flowers, at the top and the bottom borders. Yep. 13 stitches of yellow, which for a start and a stop every single time. Anyway, I love how it looks. You know, this is the whole thing. I love how it looks at the end. When we get to these little ones, that's where I really slow down. So it did take me a lot. It took me a lot longer this week to get through this than I was hoping. I had things in the schedule. Hey, that's life. But it got done, so that is awesome. It got done. But it didn't get done till like late this week, which means some of my plans for the rest of the month are they're being adjusted. We'll talk about that when we get to plans. But yeah, so it's complete. I'm thrilled. It means I have made it through all 12 of the cottages this year, so that's been great. And then on Saturday was the stitching at the library. It was a pretty small group this time. Not surprisingly, when I sent out my reminder email to the people, I did say, look, it was a frosty day. There had been snow overnight, so there was a lot of stuff on the news sort of saying like the roads are slippery. And so even the day before, I said, look, you know my line, safety first, safety first, safety first. And there were several people that on Saturday morning sort of went, given the conditions of the roads and whatever, they were like, hey, you said it, safety first. I'm not going to be able to make it, which is great. Doesn't mean I didn't want to see them or it would have been lovely to have them there, but I would rather that everybody stays safe. Safety first. We will, of course, be having another get-together in January. I have not booked it yet, so I'm expecting by the time I do my video next week, I will have that date, and we can talk. I will put that information in next week's video. So what did I work on? It was my library stitch. So I've been working on this StitchCon piece. I picked this up at Keepsakes. Well, okay. I picked it up at StitchCon in the annex, the shopping annex. You can get this. It is only available at Keepsakes. The information for how to get a hold of Keepsakes if you're interested in this chart is in the notes section down below. And I didn't get it completed at the library, but I had, when I finished at the library, I had 56 stitches left to go and the back stitching on the house. So it is now complete. There you go. So yeah, this is another one. It fits into my thing where I'm going, when I originally, if you go back to when I was talking about StitchCon and getting this chart, I was like, I don't know when I'm going to stitch it and 27 other things. And by July, I was like, no, I need to start working on this. And my goal for this piece was to get it finished in 2022, the year that I attended StitchCon for the first time. So it's great. It's finished. I'm glad that I worked on it. I only ever worked on it at the library. Okay. On the days we had the library get together, there certainly were, like I say, even this last Saturday, I worked on it at the library, but I did have, like I say, I had 56 stitches left to go, so I worked on it when I came home. There was another Saturday where we were at the library and I got absolutely 0 stitches in while I was at the library, so I worked on it when I came home from the library. But it is now complete, which is great. In case you're wondering, yes, the bus is different than you see on the chart here. This is what the stitchy bus looks like if you are attending StitchCon. And there was someone, I don't know whether it was in the StitchCon Facebook group or on Instagram, where they showed theirs and they had adjusted it. And I was like, I love it. Do you mind if I borrow yours? And she was very gracious. I wish I could remember her name. And she said, no, happy for you to copy. You know, she's like, I was winging it, so I'm glad you think it looks really great. So I took a screenshot of hers and adjusted my bus so that mine was like hers, which looks like the stitchy bus. So I'm thrilled with how it looks. The joke, the laugh that I had at myself is as I was sort of working down here at the bottom, I was like going, okay, so I need to decide where I'm going to put my initials and, you know, 2022. And, you know, just thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And then I was looking up at the chart for something to read the back stitching instructions and went, wow, are you slow in the head? Because it says 2022 right at the top, and your initials are here in the scroll frame. You don't need to do anything down here at the bottom. It's all in here. You're good to go. I will say one of the things that in retrospect, I'm very happy about is that I did do all of the back stitching on this piece as I was going along. So as I did motifs and certain things, you know, it's not full coverage, they are separate, so I could do the back stitching as they were done. So I got to the end, it's like, as I was finishing the back stitching last night, I was like, thank heavens I back stitched as I went, because if I sort of got to the end and went, now I have to do all of the back stitching, that would have put me right off, and I don't know, that would have sailed to a finish. But it was much easier last night to go, okay, now that you've got all the stitching done, all I had to do was back stitch the house, and we were good to go. So yes, this is another finish for 2022, so I'm thrilled about that. And that is what I worked on this week. Yeah, so not, as always, not as much as I was wanting. I was really wanting to bring Vimy Ridge out because I just want to get that one band finished before we come to the new year. So I think that's what's going to happen. I'm going to work on that this week just so I can get, that band has to get completed. I can't just leave it with the four maple leaves there. So what are my plans for this week and really for the rest of the month? Originally in the plan for this month, I was going to have a new start. Well, there was going to be the original plan new start, and then I added a second new start because I am planning on having a Christmas Day start, which was not in the original plan for December. So I'm sticking with the Christmas Day start. The other chart that was planned for and kitted up and ready to go as a start in December is not going to get started. It's going to get moved into the to be started. It's moving out of the plan into kitted but not committed land. We'll see if it makes its way into the 5-year plan again. So my plan is I've got a couple of Christmas whip carryovers that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to have my Christmas Day new start, and there's a plan for that on how that's going to carry over into 2023. But my new start for December, it's not going to get started. I'm going to work on my other 2 Christmas related whips for the rest of the month, just to get some progress on them. And that'll be great. So how I balance that out, how much time gets spent on each. I mean, in my head, I kind of went, well, you could do a week on each, or do you alternate? Anyway, I have no idea, but I've got 2 of them, and that's what I'm going to work on for the rest of the month, period. From a Flosstube video, of course, next week, next Sunday is actually Christmas Day, so I'm not planning, I don't think my video is going to go up that day. I am planning on publishing a video next week. I just don't know what day it's going to come out. And sorry about that. We'll just see how things shape up. I know what the topic is. I know what it's going to look like. So whenever it comes together, there will be one next week. I just don't know what day that's going to be. So if you're wanting to know, here's where I do the thing that I rarely say on here. If you like and subscribe and click the bell for notifications, when a new one goes up, you will get that notification. But there should be one coming out next week at some point. I'm aiming for earlier in the week. The following week, of course, the next Sunday is New Year's Day, and I am planning on recording on New Year's Day and getting that up. Now, when it actually gets published and all that kind of stuff, it may not come up in your feed until Monday, because I am going to have to, my mom is going to have a New Year's Day dinner, and I'm going to go for that, and how long, who knows how long that's going to take. So when I actually get it recorded and uploaded and all those things, anyway, There will be one for January 1st, the start of a new stitching year, the start of a new plan. There will be one, as with all things loading up on YouTube, when it actually gets fully published and ready to go is anybody's guess. All right, let's talk Stashquisitions. So I did have a 1, 2, 3 order come in, and I've got it arranged here in an unusual way. I'm working my way through least interesting to most interesting according to me. So I was ordering some things from 1, 2, 3. I topped it up. I got another package of 100 Floss-A-Way bags, because my Floss-A-Way bags I felt I was getting a little low. I did get some really lovely banding. I don't remember what the count of this. I want to say it's like 27, 28 count linen with a royal blue trim on it. The stitching area between the two things, the two bands of royal blue trim, is 3 3/4 inches, if you're wanting to know. I've developed a thing for banding, so this actually happened to be on sale when I picked it up, so yeah, added that into the stash. Do I have explicit concrete plans for this? No, but I liked the concept. It was on sale. It came home. It'd been sitting in my wish list on 1, 2, 3 for a really long time, and I think I was getting worried it was no longer going to be available at the sale price. This is, I want to say that this came out this year. Let me just have a quick check on that. I think this is a 2022 release. Yes, 2022, that's what I thought. Sorry. Fighting with the bag. This is from Little House Needleworks, the music shop. I play several instruments, blah, blah, blah. This was in the must come into the collection at some point. It wasn't one that I felt that I needed to get immediately once it was released, but so yes, I have a lot of, this is from the Hometown Holiday series. And I want to say there's like 21, 22 different buildings for the Hometown Holiday series. I've got quite a few of them. I don't have all of them. I have started exactly none of them. That's not the point. So at one point here, I will start to work on my Hometown Holiday series. I've seen lots of, it's been interesting being part of the Facebook group, because there's all different ways that people have done these ones, and I keep debating how exactly I want to get them stitched up. I picked up a couple of Zappy dots. Well, they were on sale. So this is the one of the Glitter Villages, buildings from the Glitter Village. I've got all the charts. I've stitched none of them, but now I will have a matching Needleminder. And then this is from Hands On Design. This is Hello Summer. I've turned into one of those people where I feel like I now need thematic Needleminders as I'm working on things. Does it make sense? No. Does it matter? No. Anyway, those were both on sale, so I got those. I added this Nora Corbett Spellbound. This is Facebook's fault. Somebody posted a picture of their wall, and they've done all of the Bewitching Pixies, and it just looked fantastic. And I like that concept. I've got all of the original Bewitching Pixies, but I was looking at this lady's wall display and went, I have that, 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 I have that. Ooh, I don't have that. So clearly, in order to replicate the wall display at some point over the course of my lifetime, I needed this. So since I was putting in an order with 1, 2, 3 stitch, this one came home. These are sort of some of the other Bewitching Pixies. I don't think this is actually called, I don't think this is, oh, it does say it's a Bewitching Pixie. Anyway, so she got added to the collection. And then the funny thing is, apparently I was on a "Oh Come Let Us Adore Him" kick while I was placing this order. So this is by Lizzie Kate. And again, I think this started off that somebody posted a picture that they finished this, and I kind of went and looked in my X-Stitch app to see if I had it, and I didn't. And because Lizzie Kate is now retired, if you're looking for Lizzie Kate charts, you can only get them off of 123 Stitch, which is kind of what kicked it into overdrive, saying you have to place the order. This is the "Come Let Us Adore Him, Christ the Lord," and this little joy ornament comes as part of this as well. And as I said before, joy is my favorite Christmas word, which is why the joy tree toppers for the shrubs on either side of the fireplace were really, anyway, I'm so glad. Those are some of the best additions to the Christmas decor this year. Anyway, so that's what that looks like. It's a little, so 104 wide by 54 high. Yes, I was just had a moment going, yeah. Anyway, so that got added into the stash. No clear-cut plans as to when that's going to get started, but anyway. And then this one, and I think this one came up because I was looking at that one. Again, right, this one came up because I saw somebody posting on Instagram or something or other where I was like, I need that. And then this one popped up and I went, I must have this. So this is by Sweet Wing Studio. "Oh Come Let Us Adore Him." I was like, I love it, I love it, I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. This model is stitched on 32 count woodland linen by Picture This Plus. And I think when I was ordering it from 123 Stitch, that's when I actually, I had been looking to see what the fabric was for this. It wasn't on the Sweet Wing Studio website itself, but I think it was on 123 Stitch. And I then went into my X-Stitch app and went, what are the chances I've got woodland in my stash? I have a fat 1/8, which is big enough for this, of 32 count woodland linen in my stash. It was so exciting. So exciting. So I have pulled it out. Now, I didn't have all of the flosses, but I have the ones that I've got. So there's my woodland linen. There's some of the flosses. I'm missing the yellow and the browns for the church. The interesting thing, this is the called for green, but while I was mucking around, I also found this one. And I think I like, this is Classic Colorworks Weeping Willow. I think I like it better than that one. So these have all been, these are all going to go live in a project bag in the kitted but not committed category, because I don't know exactly when this is going to get started, but I think it's just going to be lovely, lovely, lovely. It's not a huge stitch either. It's 99 by 61, so a little bit bigger than the, sorry, moving things. It's actually only a little bit bigger, different dimensions, only a little bit bigger than the cottages, so it wouldn't take forever to stitch up. All right, now I have a problem because I have lost. There it is. I lost the bag that this belongs in. Okay, so that is that one. Yes, I think it's just going to be lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Ah. All right, and then the most important part of the Stashquisitions for this week. You'll laugh when you see it. I have been looking for this for months. Months and months and months. I'm not going to show it to you until I finish my story. Like, to the point where I was actually looking online to see where I could order it from. But I could only buy the places that I could find. It was going to cost me like anywhere between $25 and $40 Canadian where I went. That is the wrong price. That's not what this is supposed to cost. Anyway, so I've been looking and looking and looking and looking and looking and looking and looking, and I found it this week. To the point where I was walking around the store holding it like I was ready to fight somebody off if they were going to. Nobody was even remotely interested in this particular item, but I felt ridiculous, but I was certainly holding it very a treasured item I was holding on to for dear life, for sure. So are you ready for this? It's it's a box of tea. So there's the newly crowned queen and of course the older queen. It does say on the top, it says Queen Elizabeth II of Great Britain. It's got another picture on the side. It's got another picture from the coronation. I actually had to confirm this because I didn't remember that she had a bouquet, but there was a coronation bouquet. And then, of course, on the back, it talks about her becoming queen on February the 6th, 1952, on the passing of her father. And it was $7, that was the right price. So I'm thrilled, 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 thrilled. I couldn't care less about the tea. My plan for this is why this is a stitching item. This is not a kitchen item. This is a stitching item because what I want to do is there are those 2 pillow designs that I got off of Etsy from Helen Phillips. I don't have the pictures down here with me. One she did for the Platinum Jubilee and one she did for as a memorial piece. They're small pillows. I'm thinking if I stitch them on 40 count Verdal that I can pop the lid up on this, you know, do some filling in here and have the 2 pillows sort of sit diagonally at the top on this. I have been looking for this since the Queen passed away. And I was not able to find it at all. But I found it this week. I found it this week. I found it this week. Yes, this is how I walked around the store. I found it. I found it. I found it. I am thrilled, 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 thrilled. So in 2023, those 2 patterns are now being incorporated into the 2023 stitching plan because I want them to sit on top of this. And I was talking to a friend of mine where I was like going, how I was really going to display things, and I've now come up with this whole plan for what I want it to look like. Anyway, when it all comes to fruition, I will show a picture of that. Anyway, all right, so those are my Stashquisitions for this week. Embarrassingly, yes, this is the most exciting part. This is the second most exciting part. Anyway, it's the little things in life that get me excited. All right, and with that, we are going to come to the topic for this week is, so what have I learned in 2022 about my stitching and that I'm planning on incorporating into my 2023 stitching plan? I am a big proponent of there are always things to learn. Sometimes the things that you learn are positive, sometimes the things you learn are negative. In a couple of my positions, we had some, man, they always had titles, I can't remember what they are, but they would rotate like every 6 months, you know, so it was like a 2-year program, and every 6 months they would rotate through a different department. And sort of usually is my performance review discussions with those people. I said, you're going to have all these opportunities. You're going to see all these different things. It's actually, you get to learn things about what kind of a leader you want to be. You'll see all these different styles. So you can always sort of say like, I want to be more like this. I want to do that. And man, I never want to do this. You can learn from all of these opportunities. Sometimes they're going to be positive learnings. Sometimes they're going to be negative learnings going, I never want to be X, Y, Z or whatever. So I apply that same mentality to my stitching. You know, it's been a year of stitching. It's the end of the year. We're coming up to a new year. What have I learned about my stitching, and what am I planning on applying to what I stitch on a go forward basis? It's been a great year for me. I think it's been my best stitching year ever. Sorry, my tassel is, there we go. Whew. I know. Anywho, so I've got my learnings in 3 different categories. Things that were worked out really well for me that I absolutely am taking into the new year. Things that I am not planning on doing when I go into 2023, and things that I need to improve on. So I always like to, let's start with the bad. Let's work, then we'll move to what we need to improve on, and we'll end with the good. So what am I not going to do in 2023? Well, there are not a lot of things in that category for me. You'll laugh. One of them is both last year and this year, I have been collecting my orts to make a Christmas ornament of orts. So this is this year's bauble. Last year's is over there anyway. And I've seen lots of people do this and all sorts of things. I got these. These are plastic. I got them from the dollar store. You know, I've did it last year. I did it this year. I don't know that I necessarily look at this and go, oh, look, that's my stitching. And I see Project XYZ. It's okay. So I did it last year. I did it this year. I don't think that I'm going to continue making these. And there's a part of me that says, I'm not even sure I'm going to keep these ones. Because, of course, you can just pop the top off and empty it out. So I haven't decided. I've got the 2021 ornament over there. I've got the 2022 ornament here. I don't know. We'll see. Am I planning on collecting my ornaments for 2023 and making an ornament out of them? No. That one, we're done with that plan. Okay. The other thing that I learned that I'm not going to do is I am not going to join a sal where I'm not super excited about it. I participated in 2 sals in 2022, which was a big step for me. I've never done that. I've never actually participated in a sal, but I participated in 2 sals. And the one that I'm thinking of, and it's not that this was a bad idea, but so I did the Tiny Marie Antoinette gate. Right, so I'm holding it out again going, it looks lovely. And yes, I need to put it into the frame that I got, and I haven't done that yet. You know, it looks nice. I think I would have been happier if I'd actually taken the time that I spent working on this and applied it to my polar chatelaine. Now, would this have made the time that I spent doing this, would this have made a huge dent in polar? No. You know, I'm okay with this. I think it looks nice. I think it will look nice when it's framed. I have a spot in my house where I'm planning on putting this once it gets into its frame. But I kind of look and go, yeah, it's nice. I'm not unhappy that I worked on it, but I'm also not going like, oh, look, I finished the chatelaine, the Tiny Marie Antoinette gate. It's done. It's nice. I've got a spot for it. I've got a frame for it. I've got a spot for it in my house where I'm planning on putting it. Okay. But that's my whole thing. okay, I'm more excited about the "Oh Come Let Us Adore Him" than this finished piece. So my lesson that to me says, even though it sounded interesting and I was going to give it a try, if I don't have that like, I want to work on this, I'm not going to do it. So there you go. That's one of my lessons. I'm not going to do that again. If I'm not super excited about it, I'm not gonna participate. All right. So things that I need to improve on. So it's funny that I just talked about this, because one of the things that I need to improve on is I am terrible about turning these things into fully finished items. Now, I will say that I do identify as a predominantly a process stitcher. I enjoy the act of stitching. Is it critical to me that everything I start ever get finished? No, that's not critical to me. Does it bother me that I've probably got more charts in my stash than I will ever finish? No, because I enjoy looking at them. And trust me, I can spend a lot of time just losing myself in the stash, just looking at charts and enjoying them and all that kind of stuff. That is fun for me. So it's not that I'm unhappy that not everything has been turned into a fully finished object over the course of this year, but I do think I need to do a better job of actually coming up with a plan to turn them into finished objects. So for example, turning this into a fully finished object should not be a monumental task. Look at how small this thing is. We know that I got a frame from the thrift store. How hard can it be to get that thing into a finished object? Shouldn't be hard. I just haven't made the time. So I need to work on, so this is one. It needs to get turned into a fully finished object. I now have 12 cottages that are all fully stitched, just waiting to be turned into a fully finished object. And I would like to be able to have these as fully finished objects sitting in my house. I specifically worked on them so that I had 12 so that every month I could haul one out. But in order to haul them out and display them, you have to have them as fully finished objects. So I have some thoughts as to how I want to finish these now that they are all stitched up. But one of my things was I wanted to make sure that I had all of them stitched so that then I could sort of come up with a consistent plan as to how I wanted them to be displayed. So these are things, that table runner, the musical Christmas table runner. Have I turned that into a fully finished object? No, I haven't. I know I said there was a remote chance that it could happen before Christmas. It turned into no chance anyway. But there's 372 days for me to fix that for next Christmas. Okay, that maybe has a shot of happening. The other thing that I did not do, as far as I was concerned, that I didn't do a great job on, that I need to do a better job on, is working on my carryover whips. When my new starts in 2021 were all pretty large charts, and I knew that the chances of me finishing them in 2021 were small because they're large charts. So when I was coming up with my plan for 2022, there was part of the plan on which whips I was going to be working on and how long I was going to be working on them, and 27 other things. Some of them I did an okay job on. Some of them I didn't do an okay job on. There is a 2021 new start that was a carryover whip that this year got exactly 0 stitches added into it. And even by the end of this year, yes, we've got 2 weeks left in this year, it's not going to get any stitches done to it. That's just how it worked out. Now, it's good to have a plan that is flexible enough where you can change and adjust and add and whatever, and that's one of the things. It was supposed to be worked on in June with me going to StitchCon and all the things that happened at StitchCon and the things that happened after StitchCon. The whole plan for June totally got turned on its head, which was fine, but it did mean that I had this one project that never even saw the light of day, which is not optimal. If it never sees the light of day, it has no shot of ever turning into a finished object, let alone a fully finished object. So I do need to do a better job of coming up with a more concrete plan for bringing out the carryover whips and working on them regularly so that we can get them towards a finish. Hence the change in the plan for this month. Yes, I had a new start. It was fully kitted up. It was ready to go. It's not going to get stitched on it. It's not going to be a new start. It's not going to get worked on. It's going into the kitted but not committed category now. Who knows when it will arise again, but the answer was I have these 2 large Christmas projects, which I've already started, and I only have 2 weeks left. It's more important to me that I work on those whips than start another one. Don't get me wrong, I still like that one. I still want to start it. I still want to have it finished at some point, but it's more important to me that I actually work on these whips. Now, doesn't mean I'm not going to have a new start in December. I had a new start, which was the December cottage of the month. I have a Christmas Day start, which is an addition to the plan. That one has a longer plan, how it's going to work into 2023. So that's the one that's going to get started because I've got a concrete plan on how to work on it so that it can become a finished project. So those are my things that I need to improve on. So what worked out really, really, really well for me in 2022? Well, oops. Hang on, you know exactly what this is going to be. Let me adjust my board. Sampler stitches. So this Sal is one of my wow, did this work out for me things. So this was a Sal, right? So this is my example of a Sal that I was really excited about and I really, really wanted to work on, and I got it into the plan. This was an addition to my 2022 plan and it has worked out very, very well for me. I loved this. I love the concept. So this is 9 charts that who knows when in my 5-year planning that this series of 9 charts would have made it out of the bin and onto the plan if it weren't for Sarah and her going, I want to do this as a Sal. So this was awesome. This was also a test case for me where I said, like, okay, can I really keep up with this? Can I really, the concept is great. All you need to do is 1 letter every two weeks and you can have this complete by the end of the year. Now, when you compare this to samplers that have alphabets on them, the difference is that this is effectively just an alphabet. It's not an alphabet plus. But this worked out really well for me. This was my Sunday stitching. I don't feel like it really took a lot of stitching time out of my stitching plan for any given month. And look, by the end of the year, I have 9 charts completed. This is not a small piece. This is a larger piece. There are a lot of stitchers out there who would look at a chart of this size and say, I'm never going to get this done. It's never going to happen. I'm never going to finish this. I can't stitch something that's that big. I want to say, I have none of the charts even remotely handy. I don't remember what the size is. I want to say it's like maybe 180 by 210, right? So there are lots of people who would go, I can't stitch something that big. And this is the proof of concept that if you take it in little bite-sized pieces, you can get a big piece accomplished. So I loved this. I loved that it got 9 charts out of my stash into a finish. I'm glad that yes, loved this. So in case you're wondering, come January 1st, I will be working on another alphabet piece. This was proof of concept. The proof of concept is firm, complete. This is positive. I'm doing this. So certainly in the next 5 years, I am planning, at the moment, there is an alphabet piece scheduled for every year so far. Now, hey, plans can change. Maybe I'll get tired of doing this, but certainly next year, come January 1st, I will be starting another alphabet piece. I loved this concept. Now, do I have a bajillion alphabet pieces? I don't know, but I certainly found enough for the next 4 years. That's not true. Yeah, there's one for, I was gonna say, I'm sure I said for one for every 5. Yeah, I've got 5 of them. I've got one for every year for the next 5 years pegged. Now, we'll see how fast they go. I'm hoping that the one, you know, so this was my proof of concept. I spend my Sunday night and I stitch. So we'll see how fast the other ones go. I'm kind of hoping that the next ones will go actually a little faster, because some of these I had to work, some of these I really had to work at. These were specialty stitches. Some of them I liked, some of them I didn't, some of them I fought with, some of them were easy. My 2023 alphabet piece is all just regular cross stitches. So we'll see how fast it goes. But there will be a new alphabet piece in 2023 that I will be working on, and I'm really looking forward to it. So again, I'm incredibly grateful to Sarah for coming up with this. 1, she chose that, and I had all 9 of them in my stash. 2, I've proven the concept that I can, like, that's a work on 1 letter every 2 weeks. Like, that works for me. So we'll see how it works out in 2023. But I've got one scheduled for that. Okay. I dropped pieces of paper. Okay. Okay, so the other thing that I've worked on is that picking 1 day a month to work on select pieces, which was great. So I started off with testing that theory for my crown piece. Here it is again, right? Now, when I originally started working on this, because the goal for this was to, it's driving me nuts. No, I can't do that. I have no good board to put this on. All right, let's just do this. All right. Originally, when I started working on this, my goal was to have this finished over the course of 12 months because I was going to start it on February 6th, the anniversary of Queen Elizabeth's, the day she became queen, and I was going to finish it 1 year later on the 71st anniversary. Of course, when she passed away in September, this must be completed in the current year. So originally I started out where I'd mapped out how many stitches I needed to do a month to get this completed. And that was fine, and I was trailing along, right? So I just popped it in, and when I did that many stitches, I stopped. As soon as we hit September, this became, forget whatever the next, October, November, December, January, February. So five months of stitching. I was like, it's not going to be 5 months. This has to be done by the end of the year. And then, of course, I came up with the idea of putting the quote on it. But again, hauling this out a little, this is another piece that all I had to do was haul it out for 1 day. And by the end of the year, it's complete. So for me, this again was another proof of concept if you're bringing things out consistently. Now, this is not as big as like a chatelaine design. This is not as big as Sampler of Stitches. But this is another proof of concept for me where it's like if you bring it out just 1 day a month and make progress on things, you can get things finished. So this was the start of that concept. I then applied it to my Remember 911, right? This was not originally in the plan, but I just went, this is a chart in my stash. I want to get it stitched up. And if I just devote 1 day a month to getting this complete, now, I still think it's going to take me all of I think this is going to carry all the way into 2024, certainly based on the speed with which I'm stitching this, because this took forever. This one took way longer than it should have. Anyway, we're making progress, but it will end up getting completed and not detract from a lot of, I don't feel like these projects are taking a lot of time out of the time that I have available to work on other projects. So February 6th, even though this piece is now complete, February 6th is still going to be, or February 6th, the 6th of every month, I'm still going to be working on queen pieces. I have the Vivster's piece that I started on the day of her funeral. Now that's going to go into hiatus for a bit now that I have my tin. I know. You can just sit there and laugh and go, you're being ridiculous. And the answer is, yep, I'm absolutely being ridiculous. That's what you all know and love about me. Is now I have to work on those 2 pillows from Helen Phillips off of Etsy. Those are now going to have to be worked on, and I'm only going to work on them on the 6th of the month. They're pretty small, so I don't think it will take forever, and I can get both of those finished and hopefully get them into fully finished objects to go sit in my tin. Anyway, once those 2 pin pillows are done, once those 2 little pillows are done, then I will go back to my Vivster's piece and start working on that on the 6th of every month. So my, the days, so what I've got going in the calendar for 2023 is Sundays will continue to be working on my alphabet piece. Every Sunday I will be working on my alphabet piece. The 6th of every month I will be working on a Queen Elizabeth memorial piece. The 11th of every month I will be working on my Remember 911 by Just Nan. And the 25th of every month I will be working on the piece that I start on Christmas Day this year until it is complete. Once it is complete, the 25th will free up, as far as I know at this point in time. Okay. So I've had a couple of pieces in the things that I started in 2022 that were test cases for me. One of them, specifically the Dreaming of a White Christmas. Shouldn't have taken that long. I was going to say, you know, the one that I worked in July, but not everybody will remember that. So it was a Victoria sampler, Dreaming of a White Christmas, that piece I did on the dark teal linen. That was a specific test case for me because there's a series of charts that I have in my stash. It's a series of 3 charts. They're all about that size. And what I was really testing in July was if I do a monthly stitch, which in 2022 was the cottage of the month. If I finished that and then I worked on something and I mostly worked on that for an entire month, could I get it finished in the month? They're all about that same size and I got it finished. If it wasn't exactly in the month of July, I think it was finished in July. I don't have my phone handy for me to check. Maybe it was early August, but not very long. It showed me that I could get a monthly stitch accomplished and stitch an entire chart of that size in 1 month. So that was my proof of concept in July of 2022. That series of 3 charts from the Victoria sampler have been plugged into my 5-year plan in July. So every July, so July 2023, 2024, 2025, I will be working on this series of 3 charts so that I know it sounds ridiculous. Yes, by the end of July of 2025, I will have finished all 3 of those charts. They're older charts. I have had them in my stash for forever. I saw them as a stitched model at a local needlework shop that is no longer in existence, and I remember when I saw it on the wall, I was like, what is that and where are those charts, because I need to do that. Now it's been probably 20 years since I bought those charts. Yeah, it's got to be at least 17 since I bought those charts, and they've never made it. They've never made it out of the stash. I bought the charts, I bought everything to do them. I've got them ready to go. Starting 2023, I will be working on them. And those ones, once they get started working on in July, my goal is to make sure that they are finished by the end of the month period. Now, it's only, yes, if I worked on one of them every month for 3 months, would I have the whole thing done? Yes. Would that speed it up? Yes. But I sort of go in my overall, all the things that I want to work on, I'm prepared to devote 1 month every year until all 3 of them are complete. So stay tuned for July you'll see the first one and that one. I will say there's a couple of things about them that have me very nervous. Very nervous. We'll talk about when we get there, because I'm going to have to do things that I've done it before, but I'm not great at it. So we'll see how it goes. Like there's ones where I was like, I'm going to need to practice a couple of things in that anyway. Library stitching. So this was a year where I reached out to people and said, hey, are you in my area? The number of opportunities for stitchers to get together physically and meet have dwindled dramatically. One of the previous local needlework shops, it was a brick and mortar shop, they had like Thursday night stitch-ins that you could just come and stitch. They were, they stayed open late. They were running classes, 27 things, but they closed a number of years ago. And there is another shop that does have some capability for that, but it is further away for me. Certainly in an evening anyway, that's a little harder for me to do. So I decided I was going to throw it out there. And, so it's been great. There's currently on my list of people that get emailed regularly about library stitching, there are 10 ladies plus myself that are on my list. Have we ever had a week where everybody's been there? No. Is that okay? Absolutely. There are life things. And I laughed. One of the ladies said, I'm really sorry I can't come because I'm doing things with my grandkids. And I think that's more important. I'm going, absolutely. Your family is, okay, some people would sort of say not all the time more important than your stitching, but family is important. Young grandkids, that's really important. As far as I'm concerned, it's really critical to spend as much time as you can with your grandkids, and certainly your kids as they're little, because as they age up, teenagers aren't necessarily the ones going like, ooh, if only I could spend more time with my grandparents. Some of them, anyway. Get them while they're young, spend as much time as you can, be an influence in life, right? There are things in life for a variety of reasons that are more important, and that's okay too. I'm just going to book, it's not a huge, once a month we meet at the library, we get together. I've met women that I never would have met otherwise by offering up stitching at the library. I think that's great. I think it's great that my library gives me the opportunity to book a room at a library for free. It doesn't cost me anything to book the room at the library. I book the room. I have access to rooms at a variety of different libraries around the city. So if we outgrew that room, there are other libraries around the city that I have access to that I could book a room that's even larger than that to accommodate as many stitchers as we can just to get together. So if you're in the greater Calgary area, if you have other stitchers that you know of that don't necessarily watch Flosstube, just let them know about that there is library stitching in case they're wanting to come. Like I say, we've got enough room in our current room that you don't have to let me know in advance that you're coming. So if you're even remotely interested, just show up. You're not obligated to come and stitch for the 3 hours I've got the library booked. You could come for an hour and go, maybe this isn't the group for me. It's fine. We have ladies who pop in and they come late and they leave early because they're fitting in around other things. We're just glad that we get to see them and we've met them. Is it going to be for everybody? I don't know, but I think it's a lovely group of stitchers. I'm thrilled that I started it. I'm thrilled that it's continuing. Yes, it's also meant that I've added another project into the stitching plan. So my library stitching, what I stitch at the library is completely separate from what I've got in the stitching plan. So for 2023, I have a bag of projects for the library. I don't have them all fully kitted up because I'm going to start one and I'm going to stitch at the library until it's finished. And when that's finished, then I'm going to pick another project out of the bag and stitch that at the library until it's finished. And then I'm going to pick another one. I think I have enough charts in there that I have more than enough to get me through 12 stitching opportunities at the library over the course of 2023. And I will be fascinated to see what I get accomplished. It's been fun putting those into the bag and going, I've got my January 2023 Stitching at the Library project is picked. I just need to get the fabric cut and searched for that so it can be sitting in its library project bag, ready to go for whenever that Saturday comes up in January. 2022 has also proven to me that it's really, while I have a plan for the current year, I also have a 5-year plan. It's really important that you have flexibility about your plan. I feel like I've done a really good job over the course of 2022 about mostly sticking with my plan. Some of the things have been adjusted. Like I say, June's original plan got completely thrown out of whack, and the only thing from the June plan that actually made it to completion is that I did the cottage of the month, and I think I finished that, June 28th, 29th, 30th. It was like really late in the month because I did all these other things. So it's good to have flexibility. It's good to be able to add things into your plan. It's okay to look at your plan and say, I don't know that I'm really going to do that. I'm still looking at my September project and going like, I don't know about that one. There's part of me that goes at you, but you're going to love it when it's done. But the other part of me says, you've just told yourself if you're not really excited about doing it, should it be sitting in the plan at all? So I'm having my moment saying like, follow your own advice. But anyway, so we'll see how that goes. I've added things into the plan. I've taken things out. I've adjusted. I think it's great to have the plan. I think the plan has made me way more productive than I ever have been before. It's good to have the flexibility, and I'm glad that I adjusted things. The sampler stitches, if you had told me at the beginning of November that I would have been adding in the 9 charts from the drawn thread, I would have said you're crazy. But I added them in and it was great. I added in the Tiny Marie Antoinette gate. It got done, but I learned something through that process as well. June, totally did all sorts of things differently. You've got to have flexibility in your plan. And it's totally okay to change your plan whenever you need to. I was listening to someone talk about their Whip Go plans for 2023. I'm not going to be doing Whip Go because my instinctive reaction is she's going to call numbers like 9 and 14, and I'm going to go, that's tough luck. I'm working on 2 and 6 because I said, so I'm not really sure I'm the personality that Whip Go will work for. I have my own plans. It's going to work out for me. But you can change them at any point in time, right? My plan for December, I had a new start. It's nothing, it's not getting started. And all that's going to happen is that bag is going to go into a separate basket of kitted but not committed, because right now it's not sitting in the 5-year plan at all. Now that can change, but right now it's not sitting in the 5-year plan because it didn't get started this year. And there were, my second June new start for this year did not get started, period. Now once I knew I was going to StitchCon, I knew that it wasn't going to get started, and that was okay. That one has been worked into my 5-year plan. It does have a spot. Now, it was all ready to go in 2022. It's now going to have to wait for a couple of years for it to come up again in the plans. But that's okay. Doesn't mean I'm going to enjoy the project any less when I get there. And I still have the ability, now that it is kitted, that I could look at my 2023 plan and go, Project X, forget that. I'm going to replace it with the one that I was going to do in 2022. That's okay too. I don't think that's going to happen in 2023 because I'm pretty happy with how the projects are sitting, other than September. But it's always good to have flexibility. And some designer could come up with something where I go, I must stitch that immediately. And I've got the One of the things that I did in 2022 that worked out really, really well for me compared to 2021 is that all of the projects that I worked on in 2021 were big projects. They are big projects. Very few of them have now finished completion status. That's, you know, so we're a whole year later and very few of them have hit completion status, which is okay by me. Because I knew when I started them that they were really big projects and I knew that they were going to take me time. And for me, my overarching theme for 2021 was pick these 12 patterns and at least finally get them started, which is why I wanted to make sure that they pretty much had a month of stitching worked into the plan for them, although I was still finishing up the nativity. Yes, I'm pretty sure that was, no, anyway, whatever. Nativity was done by then, right? Anyway, give them a solid month so that they at least had a really reasonable, decent chunk of a start. You know, this is just my preference, right? I've seen people, they're like, I've started it. I put in 2 lengths of thread, it's great, and at some point I'll start it again. I could put 2 lengths of strands of thread into them, and you know, 5 years later when I haul it out going like, I have no idea what's going on here, I don't even know what directions is going to be, which is why I was very specific about saying these are larger charts. I want to spend enough time on them that I've got a good chunk of progress where I can say I have really started these. You know, again, this is one of my areas to improve, is that I don't think I spent as much time on my whips as I should have in 2022, so I'm going to be working on that in 2023. But the addition of the smalls was really good because I felt that's why they were the first thing that it was a new start, new month, new start, but I generally could get it completed relatively quickly. I will say the later I got into the year, the longer and longer it was taking me to get those cottages completed. Now, I don't know that I got cottaged out. Actually, I'm going to pick on this one again. I think the problem is like I was totally fine with the cottage. It was the finicky things around it. Like I was totally fine with the cottage. I was totally fine doing the December. It was the finicky things around them that I think really slowed down, right? Like the fact that I can sit here and go like there were 13 yellow stitches. Part of that has to do with markup RXP, which we're going to talk about soon. But, you know, I don't like starting and stopping for 1 stitch. Anyway, but I'm glad, right? 12 charts. I got 12 charts stitched and complete in every month. I've never done that before. I think these 12 alone, the 12 cottages represent 12 finishes. That is more finishes than I've ever had in my entire stitching career in the course of a year, and trust me, my final count for 2022 is not 12, it's more than that. So I think what I learned is sort of saying like making sure that not to just work on the big projects, that make sure that you work on a small project, because you can get a small project started and completed in a month and still give yourself time to work on another project and make some reasonable progress on that project as well. So I think my plan for 2023 incorporates a monthly small project every single month. Brace yourself. It's not going to be houses. So we're going to try something else, but there are going to be small projects. There's going to be 1 a month. Yeah. Anyway, so I've got that worked into the plan. Let's talk about markup RXP. Man, that thing changed my life. Yes, I had heard about Pattern Keeper. Again, one of my issues with Pattern Keeper, and I was, I think I was in the Facebook group again, sort of checking on things, sort of saying like I think they're trying to make progress on the ability for you to bring in scanned copies. I don't think they've made based on what I've been reading in the Facebook group, I don't think they've made a lot of progress. So Markup RXP was an absolute, unequivocal game changer for me because I have a lot of older patterns. They are paper patterns. They are going to be scanned in. and Markup RXP allows me to get them into a program, and that ability to search for symbols, game changer. Game changer, game changer, game changer, game changer. Since I started using it in March, I have tried to get as much as I possibly can get into that. Now, the sampler of stitches didn't go in just because it was all specialty stitches and 27 other things, and that was fine. But certainly I have spent time this year, you know, I think back into the summer, my Lent project for 2023, which I'm really looking forward to. It will be interesting to see how I do. It will be interesting to see how I do. But, you know, I scanned that in, and, you know, while I was sitting outside enjoying the sunshine and the warmth and my Slurpee and all those good things, I had my iPad out there with me, and I was actually spending time, I was listening to an audiobook and getting it set up in Markup RXP so that it's ready to go when Lent starts in 2023. That project is in Markup RXP. It's set up. It's ready to go. Everything has been, yeah. And even in, you know, Markup RXP, even when I was working on December, like I laughed because I was finishing up the cream color, you know, and so I was down here and sort of, you know, so I finished all of the cream color down here around the stones, and I looked up and I went, it doesn't say that I'm complete on that color. It says I'm missing 5 stitches. What's missing? How could I miss the 5 stitches? And well, as soon as I zoomed back out, I was like, oh, right, those 5. Right. Now I would have noticed there were 5 over here and I ran out of thread. And so I went, well, just whatever remnant comes out of the bottom here, I'll use to finish that, which is exactly what happened. But I laughed because I got to the end of everything down here and went, where are the other 5 stitches? Now, I would have noticed it when I came in to do the white that I was missing the 5 stitches, but it also did prompt me while I had that color out and took the leftover thread when I was down here and said, oh, right, I've got that 5. And then I went, okay, now I'm complete. And there have been a number of charts where that's because I put them into Markup RXP and put them in, like I know on one of the other cottages, if it hadn't been for Markup RXP, I don't think I would have noticed that I forgot the 1 stitch that I needed to do for the beak on the bird. Anyway, that was one where I was like going, ooh, thank heavens for Markup RXP, because it came back and said, hello, you've got 1 stitch left to go. So that's great for me as well. It's been an absolute game changer. Like I say, my whole plan for 2023, all of my charts have been, are largely sitting in Dropbox. I'm not planning on bringing them necessarily into Markup RXP until like they're coming up. You know, but my January ones are in Markup RXP. They're all set up. They're ready to go. I'm absolutely explicitly planning on spending some of my summer hours yet again while I'm outside enjoying the sun, having a Slurpee, looking at some charts in Markup RXP and getting them set up. I was actually I was reading again in the Markup RXP Facebook group saying the thing that I need to remember is that, because I don't like bringing them in and clogging up my current, like using up the memory on my iPad for things that I'm not planning on stitching just yet. But what I need to remember is that I could bring it into Markup RXP, mark it all up, and then export it back out to Dropbox and let it sit in Dropbox and, sorry, excuse me, until I start actually working on that piece. So it's a little, I need to do that for a couple of things. I'm going to experiment with it and, you know, export things and take them off and bring them back in probably on smaller ones till I make sure I know that I know what I'm doing. But yeah, Markup RXP has been a game changer. Love it, love it, love it. Specifically because I can just scan an older chart, bring it into Markup RXP, and search for the symbols. Game changer, game changer, game changer. I know that one of the ladies from the library, you know, so when I'm scanning my stuff in, it's either, I'm either scanning it at work or I'm scanning it at the library. It depends on what's going on and what's happening. I do have a scanner at home, but it is not a great scanner. It's not a great scanner. And I got it years ago. It was really to do some really, anyway, it's not a fantastic scanner, but you know, worst case scenario, I can always run down to the library and use their photocopier scanner. Like I say, when I scanned in, when I rescanned in my Teguvener Jerusalem at the library, then it was working really well. And so that was my thing, right? Stop pretending to scan at home because that's not a great scanner. Take it somewhere that's got a quality scanner and get it into Markup RXP. Love it, love it, love it, love it. One of the other things that worked out for me, and I don't have an explicit plan for this, is starting in August, which was my August heat month, where I was like, my goal was to work on my whips. No new starts other than the cottage of the month. I'm continuing that again in 2023, so you'll see August heats yet again. Was I implemented that reward, and that's how Musical Christmas got done. Now, again, Musical Christmas, each of those instruments on that table runner were small. They could get done in an evening. But it was fun to say, set a goal for yourself, achieve the goal, and then go, okay, then do this one thing. Now, it was easy when they were compact, right? It was one ornament, one square, you know, running from about 270 to maybe 325 stitches for each of those squares. So again, not a huge stitching commitment. But it did mean that I had things where it's like, I should set this up as a goal because I do want to get that accomplished, but then I'm going to have a reward. I don't have any rewards set up at the moment for 2023, but I am sitting here going like, you need to figure out what that reward is going to look like. Because it did work out really well for me. Like I say, I got the table runner all stitched up, not turned into a fully finished object, but it got all stitched up. And it was interesting because I took it over, you know, that chart, that fabric all arrived to me when my mother was getting rid of her cross-stitch supplies. So it was very fun when I finished doing the last square on that, you know, going over to my parents and taking it over and saying, see, this is your chart. You gave me the chart. You gave me the fabric. I've now actually stitched it up. Now, hopefully by next Christmas, let's do all the crossing of everything possible. Hopefully by next Christmas, I will have turned it into a fully finished object and can have it, you know, sitting on my dining room table for Christmas. So I am looking to figure out what that reward system is going to look like. Now, does it need to be every month? I haven't figured that part out, but it certainly worked for me for something where there were small, tangible things where, right, because I could work on them periodically and get them completed. So I started working on it in August, and by the end of November, all of those things on that table runner were stitched up. So again, it's proof of concept. Doing a little bit at a time, you can get a lot of things accomplished. All right. So those are the lessons that I've learned over the course of 2022 and what I'm planning on applying in my 2023 stitching. I'm allowing that over the course of 2023 that some of those things are going to change. We'll see by the end of 2023 how I feel about doing an alphabet chart every month or every Sunday. We'll see how it works out. Some of those lessons may be changing for 2024 again. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. We're over an hour and a half. Like I say, I will be putting out a video at some point between Christmas and New Year's. Don't know what day that's going to be. Very belatedly into this. If you are a new viewer, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me. Hopefully you found this interesting, and if you are interested, hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, very, very grateful to those of you who come back regularly and catch up on my stitching journey and comment. My thoughts go out to the people of the Ukraine. I was watching on Instagram, I always get the Stitchy Princess Black, where Russia shelling their city in the Ukraine was bad enough that they had to evacuate. And, you know, it's she's just like, I'm evacuating. I left with 3 suitcases, had to leave everything behind. I can't imagine how stressful that is. The living in an area that's being bombed and without utilities, and I truly, in my head, I can sort of go like, it's bad. I truly know that I don't know how bad it can be. So thinking of all of the people of the Ukraine, those that have left the country, that are yearning to go home, those that are still there, those that are fighting, you know, certainly at this time of year, that's a tough situation. So thinking of the people of the Ukraine, thinking of a lot of people, certainly for many people, this is a really great time of year, and I really enjoy Christmas and the lights and the gatherings, and, you know, coming out of COVID, that we can have gatherings. I've got a Christmas Eve party that, you know, I usually attended, but of course over the course of COVID, for a variety of reasons, they didn't have it because they weren't feeling safe enough to have it. It was really great to get the invitation this year that said, after 3 years, we're getting together. We're starting it up again. Please come and join us. If, you know, again, if you're feeling comfortable, I'm going. It'll be great to be in that gathering yet again. Yeah, like some of the people that I see there, I really only have the opportunity to see them at that particular gathering. So it will be great to see them after 3 years. So yes, I like the lights, the decorations, 27 things, but I am always mindful that for many people, for a variety of reasons, they may not be feeling joyful. And that's okay too. You know, if you need to have a quiet, I'm calling it Christmas because that's what I celebrate, or whatever it is for you, if you need to have a quiet one just to give yourself the break that you need, do that. That's okay. And it's okay to, if people are sort of saying, I can't do this, I can't do that, I don't want to join the 27 gatherings, let's have the grace enough to say, that's okay too. I want what's best for you and your family and what you can handle. And for some of us, you know, just coming home and being quiet and sitting with our stitching is the best thing we can do. So have a happy fill in the blank, which is best for you. So for me, have a happy Christmas. I wish you and your family and your friends, I hope you have a wonderful time between now and the end of the year, and I hope for all the best for everyone in our community in 2023. I'm looking forward to my stitching year. It's minus 472 bajillion here, so stay warm, those that are feeling the polar effects. So safety first, safety first, safety first. Safety really does need to be a priority. Certainly for me, where I live in wintertime, hey, careful on the roads. Just because you're a great driver and you're doing really great things doesn't mean the people around you. I said to someone at the library, as I was driving to the library, there was a lady crossing the main road as you're coming to the library against the lights, and she had a walker. Anyway, I was like going, you're crazy. And yes, there was snow on the roads. It could have, anyway. She did get across the road safely, but I was very concerned that she was crossing the road against the lights with this anyway. So safety first, safety first, safety first. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy, and I hope you're finding some time to do some stitching. Some stitching is always better than none. And I look forward to seeing you at some point next week for my next Flosstube video. Take care.